so we have a pretty diverse group of folks here, but all of us are involved in this community. All of us care about this community. And I love what you said and what you pointed out from Scripture about the foundations, because the foundations go to who we are as individuals, who we are in our families, who we are in our businesses, who we are in a community. And one of the things that I love about you, Alan, is you are the same. Whether you're here in the church, whether you're out on the street, we've gotten together in some other venues, you're just the same guy. And I love about, what I love even about the Bible that you bring with you when you come, is this Bible, you can't see it, it's marked up, it's highlighted. This Bible is not a prop for this man, it's part of who he is. It's part of who he really is. And so, Tell us a little bit about your faith journey. How did you become a Christian? Where did this Christian faith come from that's so powerful in your life?
Well, it came from a great couple of parents. Herman West Sr. and Elizabeth Thomas West. And I remember the times. You went to Bible study, you went to Sunday school, and once upon a time I had a nice voice, and I even sung in the youth choir. Don't ask me to sing now, of course. But it comes
next time.
Never. You don't want to scare these people. But it comes from one of those key foundations. And one of the key foundations that made this country great was the family. And having parents that recognized that to build up your strength outwardly was to build up your strength inwardly and within your spirit. So that, when I did leave the home and went out to school, and I went to the University of Tennessee, and if there are Florida Gator fans out there, leave me alone. It's going to be a tough weekend, I know. But, when you went off to college, you held on to those things that your parents gave you. And, I talk about this all the time. When you're there, you're deployed away from your family, and you're in these tough combat zones and situations, you always go back to where that power and where that strength is. And as I say, this is the greatest leadership manual that the world has ever known right there. So that has always been a bedrock, and it came from my parents.
Yeah, and I love in our private conversations and remarks you make in public all the time, I love your commitment to family, the way you honor your mom and dad, the way you seek to honor your wife and your daughters. Tell us about how you met your wife, how long you've been married, your daughters. Tell us all that stuff.
Well, when you ask me how I met my wife, it's not as juicy as the story that she tells. But
this is the church now. Come on.
The interesting thing was that I was stationed out in Fort Riley, Kansas at the time, and my wife was still finishing up her MBA in New York, and she had graduated from Kansas State University, so we got introduced from a mutual friend. And if you've ever been out in Manhattan, Kansas City Airport is like 2.5 hours away. So I drove down to pick her up from the airport, and she was not there. Now, this was pre-cell phone days, so I could not get any type of information about what had happened with the flight or whatever. So I ended up driving the 2.5 hours back up to Fort Riley, Kansas. And of course, within 15 minutes of me getting back home, guess who called me? She had just landed back in Kansas City. So I said, okay, this is not going to be good. So I had a little Mazda RX-7. I don't know how the Kansas State Troopers were not out on Interstate 70 that night, but I got back down to that airport in about an hour and 45 minutes. She was stewing. They were closing up the airport, and she did not know, but I had already gotten an engagement ring. I was going to have something real nice up at Fort Riley. But I figured that was a moment, a target of opportunity. So in front of all the cleaning ladies there at the Kansas City airport who were stewing the fire of her being angry at me, I got down on my knees at KCI airport, and I proposed marriage to her. We've been married for 21 years, since 1989. We have 2 daughters. My oldest daughter, Aubrey, is a senior at Archbishop McCarthy, and my youngest daughter, Austin, she's 13. She's an 8th grader at Cooper City Christian.
And now one of the things that's got to be difficult, because you've been deployed all over the world, and now you're on the road, you're running for Congress. You had a very busy life as a leader, but somehow you've been able to maintain a marriage, a strong marriage. You've been able to maintain a strong relationship with your daughters. How do you bring balance? I ask this because I'm a husband and a father, and many people here are trying to bring balance to busy lives. How do you bring balance to all the things you're trying to do outside of the home, and how do you bring balance to your leadership roles in the home?
Well, that's an important part, and my wife is she's the daughter of a career military master sergeant retired, and then she makes a mistake and marries a career military guy. So yes, it's been very difficult. Been a lot of deployments and things, but my favorite verse in the Bible is Philippians 4, chapter 13. It says that I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me. Not a few, not a couple, not every other day, but all things. And so when you see all of these different bowling balls that you have to try to balance, once again, you tap back into that strength and power that enables you to do it. And you got to be able to prioritize. When I leave here today, I get the opportunity to pick up my daughters from school and spend some time with them and talk about their day, talk about their homework. And yes, I have to go out and speak again tonight at 6:30. Are you going to be there filming me at 6:30 tonight? Okay, just want to ask. You just have to continue to balance all those things. But, when I look out here at each and every one of you all, guess what? You're worth it. For the years that I served in the military, you were worth it. When I got the phone call in the middle of the night and I had to leave my wife and kids to go protect your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, you're absolutely worth it. And you're worth the exertions that I'm giving now to go to Washington, D.C. and to continue to serve you, which is what I seek to do.
And obviously, the love of children is something that we share. I know you love your daughters. I love my sons, my daughters, my many sons and daughters. You
got your own little infantry.
I know, that's right. We've got our own army. If we cannot overcome, we will overrun. So we share that in common. And one of the things I want to ask you, this is really the only political question I want to ask you, because I know the economy takes center stage in this election, no question about it. But one of the things that's close to my heart and close to the heart of this church and close to many in the Christian community here is the issue of life. Tell us, what do you believe about the unborn children that are in their mother's wombs? What do you believe they represent?
You have to respect life. You absolutely do. And I think that is something about our culture in the United States of America that we need to reestablish. And this is not about taking rights from women. But it is understanding that's very important. That's who we are. And I don't want to see us become like other cultures that did not respect life and disrespected it and don't understand that, this is a miracle. This is a gift from God. Now, are there some extenuating circumstances out there that we need to take into account? Yes, there are. And I tell people rape and incest. And it truly, if, a medical threat, a life-threatening circumstance to a mother. But, it is not just a moral issue for me, but I think that a lot of people ought to understand there's another aspect to this. If you read the book by Mark Stein called America Alone, this becomes a demographic issue, because never forget that it takes 2.1 live births to sustain a society. And you have many societies in Western civilization that are dying off because they are at 1.7, 1.8. You have even some that are at 0.7 and 0.8. And if we don't understand that we are killing future generations of Americans. We're killing the future congressmen. We're killing the future athletes. We're killing the future scientists and teachers and things of this nature. I think that we have to have a clear respect. But it has nothing to do with taking away a right from a woman. And it comes back to this. One of the things is we've got to, once again, reestablish that sense of individual responsibility and accountability. We cannot continue to say that, we're creating more and more victims. We're making more and more people dependent upon the United States in the United States of America. So I think that ties in also to that issue. We need to empower people. And also, when you start talking about these issues, it comes back to that foundation again, the strength of the family, the strength of the home. And that's what we're losing. When I go back to my inner city neighborhood in Atlanta, Georgia, the same neighborhood where Dr. Martin Luther King was born and grew up, is a totally different neighborhood now. And we cannot continue to do this. We cannot continue to make people believe that they cannot achieve the greatness that this country has established for them. And we cannot have them believing that we must take away life in order to continue life.
I obviously couldn't agree. Thank you. I could not agree more. And Alan, what do you think? Because I think it's unlikely that Roe versus Wade is going to be overturned anytime real soon. They're not currently putting it up for Supreme Court anyway, so it won't be your decision. Obviously, certainly you and I will both be vehemently against any kind of opposition to abortion that would defy the law. We would be totally against any kind of intimidation, terrorism, clinic bombing, murder, anything like that, threatening people. That's totally out of bounds. for Christians, as far as I'm concerned, as far as you're concerned. But what can churches, people, Christian politicians, what can they do?
Well, it comes back to the Constitution. You have your First Amendment right. It's freedom of speech, freedom of expression, the freedom to redress your grievances to government.